ScouterStan. We are safe distance, right? So I can take this off. Tell you what, pandemic scouting. That's what we've been going through here throughout the world. Throughout the world. I've got some videos here that'll get you caught up on what's going on. How this has affected scouting as we know it. As old timers like myself, this is totally new. Okay, this is new. All right. So I want to make sure that you are up to date on what's going on in scouting during the pandemic. So, without further ado, here you go. But I wanted to address some serious stuff that's going on with scouting. And I wanted to make sure that we included our people that like to hear it on Audible, so you can hear it there too. So I wanted to cover some things as far as what's going on with ScouterStan and everything. A scout is obedient. Okay, that's number 2 in the scout law, right? We have to follow our federal and state guidelines with scouting. Okay, to not do that would be not good. Wouldn't be scout-like. Okay, we have to do our duty to our scouts and our community. We have to. It's who we are. We can't help it. I've always said, be the example, not the exception. You know what I mean? Okay. So, but that's out there. We must work together, oddly, to curb the pandemic, but we have to do it independently. Okay. Now with scouting, we do groups, and we go camping, and we go canoeing, and we climb mountains. We do all these great things, but we do them as a group. Now that we're not as a group, we've gone virtual. Scouts, my goodness, these young people, they're doing some incredible things. So they've gone virtual. That's fantastic. I think that's wonderful. Honestly, I hope it stays to a certain degree virtual for scouts that are not feeling well, or they might be out of town, or on a trip or something like that, so they can still participate. I think this is going to be new. This is going to be exciting, and it's going to be different. Already we've gone virtual with there was an African World Jamboree called J-O-T-I, Jepta. I think that's how they pronounce it. Awesome. You can still pick it up through the World Scouting thing. I'll leave a link down there. They went virtual. They couldn't do it live, so they went virtual. Scout meetings. A lot of the scout troops, a lot of the Cub Scouts, they've done their pack meetings virtual. They'll get a meeting place, and everybody will call in, or they'll use a computer to video themselves participating in the meeting. This is critical, especially since we can't physically meet in one spot and stay within the federal and state guidelines. So at least we could stay safe and still have our meetings. So scout meetings are still going on. Scouting just, it didn't stop scouting. It's reinvigorated it. It is given it more ability to reach out more than it ever has in the past. We've also done merit badge universities online. Okay, you might notice, here it is, I'm in Central Florida. Okay, Central Florida has one of the premier camps in the country. Okay, and Camp La Noche has been doing merit badges. They have it online, and you can easily click into that. So adult leaders, look into that. Also look where your council is doing, what your district is doing. They will have stuff too, and they can help you out as far as merit badges. So that's important. They did a camp out recently. Cub Scouts and Boy Scouts all camped out virtually. They had the campfire was done virtual online, and then everybody camped out in their own backyards. Talk about convenient. That's awesome. Okay, that is just fantastic. Also, we're getting ready for day camp and summer camp. They're going virtual too. In some places they might be doing it live, but still, we're going by the guidelines of the federal government and the state government. Wherever you are, that's what we're going by. We want to keep our kids safe. It's a big part of scouting. Huge. Troop and pack committees need to have their own meetings. Now, I mentioned earlier, a lot of troops and a lot of packs are having their own meetings virtually, okay? The adults need to do that too. With troops, a lot of PLC, okay, that's the Patrol Leader Council, needs to get together and do their meetings too. This can all be done virtually. So keep that in mind. The two big things that the two of the big things that the troop and pack committee need to work on the online stuff is to make sure that their commissioner and that their or their district commissioner or their DE, their district executive, is involved in that, because they work directly with the adult leadership. That's critical. You need to get them involved too. Also, make sure you get as many parents involved in this virtual meeting. This is critical for the structure of your pack and your troop. You need to get that going. Okay? And one of the big things you need to start planning is how post-pandemic, this is not going to last forever, when it's over and we're getting back and working and gearing up for everything, what are we going to do with scouts? Most of the time, most scouting follows what the schools do. So if the schools are back in session, or they have school meetings and they have school involvement and it's done as a group and so on, that's usually where this is going to go. So this is something that your committee needs to plan. Now, in addition to that, your den leaders, I'm talking Cub Scouts, den leaders should have a meeting with their parents talking about requirements. It's one thing to be working on it individually, and with den leaders need to guide and enable that process. So that's something they need to do. It might be helpful to see eye to eye through the internet, through a meeting, how that's done. Okay, that's important. Scoutmasters, yes, talking about Scoutmasters. Scoutmasters should have an online meeting with all of their scout-facing scout leaders. Okay, now if you're not familiar with backstage and scout-facing, I'm going to put a video up here. Okay, check it out. All right, that'll give you more information about that. But they should get with all of those leaders and talk about two big things. They need to talk about how to do merit badges. What is the process? What do we do with blue cards in a situation like this? That's a discussion you need to have, and have that with your adult leaders. Okay, make sure you talk a little bit about that with your committee too. Make sure they're involved, especially the part that handles advancement. They need to be involved a little bit. Scoutmasters also can do conferences. That's very important. They can also do board of reviews. That is really cool. So that can all be done online. Now, one of the most important points that I need to make now is that all of this, all of your online activities, all of your emails, all of your text, all of your phone calls need to be done within YPT, Youth Protection Training. In that, you need the 2 deep leadership. That's critical to scouting. We are here to make sure we protect our youth, and that is very important to use YPT. That's why we require that type of training. You know, it's a great opportunity now that we have all this downtime Not everybody does, but a lot of people do. And while that's going on, get caught up on some training. It's okay to do training that for other things, okay? At least you will know more about it. Scoutmasters could do the training for committee so that they're familiar with that structure, and vice versa. All the committee people, parents, they could do the training for Scoutmaster. Or Cubmaster, or what have you. There's so much opportunity for that, and you could do that online. Now, that is changing slightly. National is moving ahead with updating some of those training. It is kind of strange how that all works, and we have done videos on that, but keep it all up to date. Pandemic scouting is one of the things we have to do as scouters. Our first job and our main job is safety. That's number one for all leaders. All parents. Number one is safety. So we have to take everything in consideration. So with that, there's a new path for scouting. A brand new path for scouting because of the pandemic. We are going to deal with this for many years to come. Unfortunately, for many years, we're going to have to deal with post-pandemic and how we have to deal with that. Very important information. COVID-19 and all of the stuff that's been going on has kind of changed how we do scouting. Unfortunately, we went into quarantine. The world went into quarantine, and scouting found a way. We've been teaching our scouts, us adult leaders, we've been teaching them to be prepared. And that's for anything, including this. So they naturally, in the United States, we naturally went right to the internet. Whether it be all the different meeting platforms and all the different things that are out there, the youth were ready to go. They were already using it. So it was us adults, it took a little getting used to the format and where things were on the computer and how to use those things. That was a little bit of a learning curve for old dogs, okay? I'm speaking for me. So it took a little while to get that right. And anyways, we got through it, right? And honestly, I think it's a great idea. We have learned a lot of different things about disease and pathogens and stuff like this. As we get more involved in, as a more evolved as a planet, we're going to start encountering these things on a regular basis. So we need to be prepared. Maybe Baden Powell was right on that. We should put that on a pet. No, I'm kidding. I tell you what, scouting is teaching our youth good lessons, good life lessons. And we're in that process. We did a lot of really cool stuff during the pandemic, during the main lockdown. We started holding meetings like we talked about, and then they did things over in, I believe it was Africa. They even had a world jamboree online. Awesome. I'll put a link down there so that you can check into some of the recorded stuff. It's awesome, okay, to see scouting around the world and how much we were able to handle this and jump right into this and meet it head on. That's awesome. Okay, and it speaks a lot to our leaders out there like you, doing the good work. Okay, thumbs up on that one. Scouting had an online jamboree. They did things like, they did pretty well. They did a lot of different things. They even did a camporee, I believe, the camp in, where you camped in the backyard and then you go online for the campfire and all the skits and all that fun stuff. So it was kind of fun. It is mainly because of what's going on that we had to do what we did, okay? But that being said, now that we're getting out, a lot of in the United States, and I know I have a lot of subscribers from overseas. So I always preface that. In the United States, they are slowly, each state is like its own country. So they are coming up with their own process of reopening and reintegrating safely, of course. That's something that they're doing. Each state is doing that. I live in Florida. I've said that many times. Florida has gone through several phases. They have 3 phases, and I think after the 3rd phase, that's basically the new norm. Air quotes. I hate that, but it's the new norm. That being said, we've learned a lot, and that is driving what's going on. The scouts are going crazy. I don't know if you've done some boards of review, but they want to get back out there. They want to get on the trails. They want to do stuff. They want to go camping. It happened at a terrible time. It happened right at the fall. Excuse me, it was right at the spring, right in May. That's when everything kind of crashed and went down. And then, of course, now we're into, the summer, when we should be going to summer camp and doing things at summer camp. That didn't occur. Later, near the school year, as things get more integrated past stage 3, once that gets integrated, then we might have some of that going back to school. I don't know if scouting's going to have, scout camps are going to have enough time to do that. I've been doing virtual day camp, which is awesome. That's and right here from here. But that's where we've been, okay? But it's not where we're going to stay. So as scout leaders, we need to start contacting our charter organizations, like I said last week. Start arranging plans to start the scouts back up. I don't believe that this electronic meeting world needs to go away. I think it can be integrated into live. And one of the big things is that we've learned, that you and I have learned as leaders, if you're not feeling well, stay home. Okay? That's plain and simple. We don't need somebody who's not feeling well getting everybody sick. So stay home. Even Cub Scout leaders have told me that they have had a heart-to-heart talk about washing their hands from their Cub Scouts. We're getting more and more aware of all this stuff. In fact, when you're not feeling well, stay home. This electronic world will definitely be there so you don't miss anything. You can go directly from your own home through the internet to the meeting without infecting anyone. And we've also learned that if you're feeling better after not feeling well, guess what? You got to still stay home, because there's a period of time where you could actually get somebody else sick. So these are things that we have learned through this process. So I believe the electronic meetings are going to continue, and they should be an option for troop meetings, for Cub Scout packs, for district and council and roundtable and all that stuff. Can also keep that electronic stuff going. I'm hopeful that will continue. That way you're not pressured into going to these things, especially if you're not feeling well. You can go online and get the same information. So that being said, if you're lucky enough to get to camp, to a real camp, to actually go in a tent and a dining hall and a waterfront and stuff, if you're able to do that, there's going to be some requirements. So you're going to need, as a leader, you're going to need to really monitor your group. Okay, there's a paperwork and stuff like that. If your camp is live, they will have requirements that you're going to have to fill to go to that camp. That being said, make sure that you're in communication with them. Communications is key. We've got to keep that communication stuff going. And that's one of the big things I want to do, is keep communications going. Now, the ScouterStan, oh my gosh, I did it again. The ScouterStan thing is our community that's here for leaders. We need to communicate. I need to hear from you. I need to hear more information. As a unit commissioner, I typically go to a live meeting, and the minute I get there, the scoutmaster, assistant scoutmaster, the committee chair, somebody comes over and says, "Hey, what about this? What's going on with this?" That's what we can do here, okay? Unfortunately, and this really is unfortunate, there are some units out there that don't have a unit commissioner that can go and be that go-to person to answer those questions. Now, you need to make sure that you've communicated with your district and your council so that you get a unit commissioner to help you, okay? A live one, not just me, all right? Now, as a backup, I'd love to be there and answer some of those questions. If you have that question, other people do too. So if you're subscribed and you want to put your message down below, please do so. I will try to incorporate that in our community here on YouTube. Okay? So that being the case, please do that. Now, another thing that's going to be kind of confusing, and I wrote an article about it on my website. What do we do with things like the handshake? We do a lot of that, especially at award ceremonies. And the thing now with this elbow bump, I don't know. It looks, if you look at it, I keep having the theme to the chicken dance go in my head with everybody. I'm not a big elbow bump person, okay? It took me, I'm old, all right? Okay. I'm not a big chicken dance guy, all right? So that being said, I'm not going to be doing elbow. And I was thinking, well, you could do fist, but then you have hand-to-hand contact. Not good. You could do a bow, maybe. And then I'm thinking, wow, that would be very strange. And right now we've got the meme of kind of doing a hello. It's not very scout-like, not very respectful. I was reviewing some old footage of Baden Powell, and from a distance, he couldn't shake everybody's hand. Okay, but he wanted to, but he couldn't do it. So what did he do? He saluted. And I thought to myself, well, you could do that from a distance. You could social distance and still do that, okay? It's respectful. Now, granted, he was a military person. He spent most of his life in the military. And I understand that a lot of people might get a little, nervous about that. But I can't think of it. I mean, a military handshake is with the full hand out like this. British. as depicted in the movie. Oh my goodness, I did it again. As depicted in the movies, that would be a British type thing. But, this would be more of a salute from the military. But with the scout sign, that's a scout salute. So a scout should be able to do that to the scout leader and the scout leader back to them. It was very respectful. So it's a lot better than the chicken dance or some goofy wave or something. I think that might be the direction we're going. There's a lot of this kind of stuff that's going to come up with going from post-pandemic back to dealing with real-life situations. In dealing with post-pandemic situations, we have to think about summer camp. For years now, we're going to have to think about how we're going to handle infectious disease that are going on all the time, always have. How are we going to deal with that at summer camp? Here's a video about that.
Got to talk a little bit about summer camp. A lot of scouts feel very deprived of their experience at summer camp. Summer camp was always a traditional time to go tent camping for a week, work intensely on merit badges, and then, of course, unique dining hall experiences, and, of course, the waterfront. So that has been kind of not possible. Being that it's post-pandemic, we have a lot of problems with that, especially during June and July, when it's prime time to go to camp. Unfortunately, that's probably not going to occur for some scouts, and if it does, it's got to be within certain guidelines. As we start to phase back into normal camping, we need to be thinking a lot about sanitation. Plain and simple. Washing your hands is a critical part of sanitation. Now, there are other guidelines that are coming out, and let's review a little bit of that. Most camps are adopting a system of evaluating your health before you even leave for summer camp. When you get there, there may be additional examinations, testing, temperatures. Typically, this is something that's done on site. If you do not feel well, don't go to summer camp. Plain and simple. No matter your sanitation, it will only get worse. If you're not feeling well when you get there, that's a problem, and you need to take care of that immediately. All summer camps are going to require an A, B, and C medical form. This is the long form. That's the 4-page type of medical form. A being release, B being the standard medical information, which is 1 and 2, and then of course the latter part, the last page, is done by a physician, where there's an actual physical required by a physician, and that needs to be signed off. Now, all of those forms need to be handed in, and they're only good for 1 year. So if you're going to summer camp August, September, or going to an event, you got to make sure it's current. So make sure that it's current for that time. So if you're going in those months, make sure that you didn't go to the doctor sometime in October and it's expired by the time you get there. So that's something to think about. You got to time out your actual A, B, and C medical form. Okay, you're at summer camp and everything's going great. You wake up in the morning and you just don't feel right. You got maybe a temperature or something. Worst case scenario, okay? You need to take care of that immediately. Put on a mask. Some camps are requiring you to wear masks when you're in event areas. If you're out in the woods, there's no purpose for a mask. But social spacing is very important. But if you're not feeling good all of a sudden, put on the mask and get yourself down to the first aid. That is critical, okay? There are some cases where you need to work things out with the camp. The camp will have its own procedures for following that. Make sure you know what they are. Usually during the orientation, they will cover that. Like I said at the beginning, you gotta wash your hands. I would say at least 6 times a day. Now, I'm not saying that that's the actual number. If you do more than that, that's fine. If you don't need to do more than 6, then that's fine too. But you gotta wash your hands. So they have to be done efficiently, and so that you can get any viruses or anything that you pick up on your hands off your hand. At all times, you want to maintain as much distance as you can between other participants at camp. There could be issues, so you want to keep that spacing correct. The camp will monitor that, and the camp will ask you to monitor yourself. So make sure that you're staying within those guidelines. Remember to cough and sneeze into your elbows, and if you have to touch your face, wash your hands first, then wash your face. That's the easiest way to do that. If you got something that's stuck to your face, then you can wash it off. Just wash your hands prior to actually doing the touching of your face. The reason for that is quite simple. If you've got bacteria on your hands and you rub it into your eyes or put it on your mouth or something like that, that's going to get inside of you and make you sick. It's just plain, simple, common sense. Make sure that you avoid touching your face if you can. Sometimes it's not possible to actually wash your hands properly with soap and water. Sanitizer works great. You just need to use the right amount and make sure that your hands are completely covered with the liquid so that it actually has time to work. Typically just massaging your hands over and over again until they dry, because there's alcohol in the hand sanitizer, seems to work rather well. At that point, your next stop is a place where you could actually wash your hands. Plain and simple, the bacteria, even though it's deactivated or dead, it's still on your hands, even after using hand sanitizer. So you need to get that washed away. It needs to be taken away with soap and water. That's your next stop. And once you've washed that off, you can dry your hands properly and then move on with the rest of your day. Of course, you have to use common sense and also use the guidelines that are given to you by your individual camp. They are there and they have the guidelines that they are going to observe and help you stay within for your own safety. And remember, follow those safety tips and don't panic. A scout is brave. We can handle this. We've been teaching our youth how to handle situations like this since the beginning of scouting. Be prepared. That's what we do. And I know you do that every single day. If you still do not have the availability for what we call quote unquote live camping, there is virtual camp. Cub Scout Virtual Camp is available in your area. Just need to be connected to your district and council, and they will let you know when that's available. It's also available for troops. So if you're in a troop, working with the troop could get involved in merit badges online. It's like a merit badge academy. So it's for all intents and purposes, it is summer camp without a waterfront or a dining hall. That's kind of all it is. It's a very easy way to work on some merit badges while we are quarantined. If no live camp is available, that would be your next option. Get involved, do the right thing, and make sure that your scouts know that this is not forever. This is just for the next few months, okay? We are going to move beyond this and adopt new practices so that we can go out and put the out in scout. So there's a lot involved when you're dealing with pandemic situations, post-pandemic situations that we need to consider. Something to keep in mind. Now, if you're just visiting and enjoying these Heinz 57s so that you can catch up, I'll tell you what, it's a lot of fun. There's a lot of videos here on this channel. Go ahead and explore. These videos don't go away. They're evergreen, okay? You can watch any of them. You watch as much, any part, any of that. Make sure that you look down in the notes of all of the videos. There's even a little schedule in there. There might be a subject that's listed there, and so you can just go to that and watch just that if you want. So these are things that are going to be out there. These are evergreen. You can look at them at any time. Also, if you're not a subscriber, and 78% of you are not subscribers, you're just visiting on a video, that's fine. I'm great with that. Thank you for visiting. I would really appreciate it if you subscribed. Hit the subscribe button. Make sure you hit the bell so that you get notified.
That's very important. Go ahead and leave comments. I read the comments. I actually reply to the comments, okay? So please go ahead and put that in there. And don't keep this channel a secret. Don't keep anything a secret on anything with scouting. Make sure that other scout leaders are aware of this channel. There may be something here that will help them. That's my goal, is to help you. Okay? So please don't keep it a secret. Tell everybody, share. You can put my videos on your Facebook. I don't mind. I don't mind at all. So if you want to go ahead and do that, if you want to put it on your website or do a playlist or of what you think is the best, whatever. There's a lot on this channel, a lot to be done on this channel. So we're getting ready for season 4. Okay, season 4 is coming out soon. So I thank you so much for joining me here on this channel. I really, really appreciate you visiting, and I really appreciate you because you're a subscriber. I'm so grateful for you guys. So until next time, wait a minute, till next time, I gotta put this on because pandemic scouting is going to be the thing. And you know what? I'll see you on the trail.